Hey everybody, Todd here, and I hope you're having a great week. Today I'm going to take a look at a wireless solution for moving mono and stereo audio around your studio and remote locations. It's the Xvive P3D. Now there's no question hardwired audio is often what we need, but it's hard to deny the convenience of wireless connections, as long as they're stable, reliable, and provide good quality audio. So even in the studio, sometimes it's nice to be able to reference from a phone or a tablet through our studio monitors or headphones with a solution that's ready to go, connected to our audio interface, mixer, or monitor controller. And of course, in a live or remote application, being able to move audio across a hall or an auditorium can be really handy, not having to run cables everywhere. And so that's where the P3 comes in. But I'm going to do some tests today to see whether it delivers on connectivity, reliability, and audio. So let's check that all out. Now the Xvive P3 is available as either a single channel mono solution or a two-channel stereo solution, the P3D. I should note that the P3D stereo can also be used as dual mono. Now to set this up, it's pretty straightforward. It's a Bluetooth device, so we turn the power on. It's going to start blinking, which means it's ready to go. We press the pairing button, and once this is paired to our phone, tablet, or other Bluetooth transmitter, we'll get a solid blue light. And if we need mono audio, that's it. One channel, we're ready to go. Now for stereo application, what we need to do is get these two talking to each other. The way we do that is we turn the second unit on, let it get started, and then we press the stereo pairing button on the first one that's already paired Bluetooth. Once that green light blinks, we do the same on the other. We get the green light blinking on both, and what will happen is the two of them will sync up. Once they're synced up, you'll see that the LEDs lock, they get solid, and then we're ready to go. We can move audio between the two. You see they're solid now, so we have two-channel audio. If we weren't using this for a stereo application, we'd pair the second one using Bluetooth to another device. So it'd be just like adding a totally separate Bluetooth device. Now these units both are charged by a USB-C. Comes with a very short USB-C to A cable, but you can use any USB-C charger. I'm going to say that this is well built. It's solid enough, very lightweight of course, but the controls are good. They're very positive. We have the necessary indicators. This power indicator is going to be lit solid until we get down to 30%. Then it's going to blink slowly every few seconds. And when we get really close to the end, around 5-10% power, it's going to blink fast, telling us we better charge in a hurry with them. So that's what we get. Overall, I'm going to say the controls and the build is good on these units. Now it's going to be the audio. Now before we look at the frequency comparison graphs, I noticed during the recording that the noise floor with the line out was below what could be measured on this graph, whereas on the P3 we were sitting around -85 to -90. So there's a bit of a noise floor elevation with the P3, certainly well below anything we would hear, just something to be aware of. Now when we look at the logarithmic comparison, we can see everything looks very similar in the upper bass to high frequencies, but in the lower bass frequencies it's actually elevated on the P3. Now that could be because of the way the codec AAC over A2DP handles things, but we'll keep an eye out for that in music. Now when we go to the linear comparison, as expected, things look very similar all the way across. Again, a little bit of artifacts may be present from the codec in use here over Bluetooth, but overall I would say very reasonable. You can see at the very top of the graph above 20,000 Hertz, that's roughly where that noise floor was all the way across the frequency range. And looking at the logarithmic comparison here on music, we can see that based on frequency response, the recording through the P3 versus directly out of the line out would be indistinguishable from one another. Again, there could be a little bit of artifacting. We'll take a look at the linear analysis, but overall, I'm going to say this is a very good comparison. Now, when we do switch over to the linear analysis, again, we can see that noise floor. It's evident in the area where we have above 20,000 hertz, where we're not getting anything out of the line out, but that was across the entire area. Certainly well below what we hear in the music, though, so not really an issue here. Could be minor artifacting, but really this looks like a good comparison. And of course, any artifacting in the upper frequencies is not a result of the P3. It's simply that we're using a codec to transmit audio here over A2DP. So now looking at the comparison here, in the log basis, really we can see that they follow one another very closely. There's not a whole lot to be seen. In the linear analysis, we can see that the P3 has a slightly emphasized frequency response above 18.5K, and then of course that area where we had the noise floor that extends beyond 20,000 hertz. That's present everywhere. It's just, of course, hidden by the music we're listening to otherwise. So I would say this is a really good comparison, and absolutely, I mean, you could use one as a reference for the other. I've loaded up a reference of the music recorded directly from the line out of the iPhone. Now we'll go ahead and compare that to the P3. I did perform a few other tests on the P3. Latency is difficult to measure, but what I did is I used a high-speed camera, 240 frames per second, to measure the point at which I pressed play on the iPhone and the signal appeared on my DAW. And of course, knowing the latency of the system, looking at the difference, I figured out that it would be somewhere around 30 milliseconds, again, within the accuracy of 240 frame per second camera. So not exact, but I mean, it's not real time. So you're not going to use this for doing overdubbing or direct monitoring. But for referencing in the studio, absolutely. Usage in an auditorium, 100%. The amount of latency is negligible for those applications. Now, battery life was excellent on this. I wasn't able to exhaust the battery in the 6-hour stated capacity using it in the studio. Now, of course, over a longer range, it'll drain down a little bit faster, but overall, I'm going to say it does hold up to the battery life spec that's given. Charging also, when I did finally drain it, within 2 hours, I was back up to a full charge. So performed really well in those tests. Now I'll have links for full features and specifications in the description below, but a few highlights here are the output level of +4 dBu, so a pro level output. I did measure that in reference to other gear I have, and it was accurate, so no issues there. Of course, we did achieve the 20 to 20,000 hertz frequency response as in the audio test, and I'd expect that with A2DP. And finally, they're lightweight, they're compact, so these are easy to take with you anywhere you need. And they certainly are convenient to use in a mixer, interface, really anywhere you normally plug in a microphone. And so overall, I'm going to say the P3 performed very reliably in all my tests, both in the studio and in an auditorium. I had no issues with audio dropouts. Latency was as expected. Yes, there's a bit of a noise floor, but it's not going to be an issue with anything we're typically using these for. Tested them again with mixers, interfaces, and powered speakers. Really, they work with everything. Battery life was more than acceptable on them. Charge time was good as well. They're lightweight, they're compact, you can take them with you if you need to. I certainly could see using these as a quick way to reference in the studio. You had reference tracks you wanted to play back from a phone or otherwise, just to listen to them before mixing. Do a good job there too. And so overall, would I recommend the P3? Absolutely. If you need a wireless solution for moving audio around, it was reliable, affordable, and it really performed well in all of my tests. And if you're looking for other hardware ideas for the studio or remote applications, check out one of the videos on the screen. As always, I appreciate you joining me, and I will see you next time.